Have you always wanted to make those addicting, nostalgic samples that we hear on these new albums from Drake, Central C, and Nems, and then you go to try to make these and it always seems like such a harder task than you would have thought? So today we're going to dive into this nostalgic sound so you can learn how to make samples exactly like these. With a lot of these nostalgic samples we go back into the project and then you kind of lose track of how exactly you made the crazy layers and stuff because it involves a lot of processing and experimentation. We're going to break this down as well as we can, but nonetheless, let's get straight into it.
Starting with the first layer from Sky Keys. As I was scrolling through different sounds in the Sky Keys VST, came across this one, Tremolo Sign. Preset sounded really cool. So using the MIDI keyboard, I played in these chords. Here's what it sounds like. So as you can probably hear, you can tell this isn't perfectly in time. That's completely fine. Things don't necessarily need to be in time at the start. As you're going to see later on, we end up chopping this layer up to make sure that it's in time at the end. Keep in mind, I've got no idea what I'm doing with the processing here. And this is completely fine when you're making samples. You don't need to know how you're going to be processing your samples and what something's going to turn out like. So what I did first is just threw a double speed preset on with gross beat, render that out, and then pitch it down 2 semitones, and then it sounds like this now. And then after rendering that out, I added on the Sean Special V2 preset. Saving presets are a great way to speed up your creative process. So threw this preset on, all are completely stock FL plugins. Sounds like this now, pitched up another 6 semitones. And then this leaves us with the last effecting of this layer. Now, looking back at the project, I'm not 100% sure exactly what I did, but I'm very certain that with this layer, I ran it through this effect chain here, a few EQs, reverb, EQ, delay. I took out all the lows here, as you can see, because I wanted to make room for other layers. As this is the first layer, I want to make sure there's lots and lots of layers. I stretched it out and then chopped it up, as you can see here. Following the exact same chords as the original pattern up here. Here is the final layer we ended up with. And then using that exact same layer, just pitched down in a different section of the sample, we've got this secondary version just pitched down a full octave. Moving on to the next layer, again using Sky Keys. I think the preset is this preset pound, Sky Keys. I threw on the reverse knob here, click that, got it on quarter reverse. These are the exact same chords as that first layer. I literally just copy and pasted it over into this piano roll. Didn't need to do anything crazy here. The main part in terms of effects, again using the Sean Special V2 preset, all the same effects as the other chain. When you've got saved presets, you can just create a sound around everything you make. Everything sounds somewhat intertwined, so when people hear it, when you got your music eventually out on Spotify or whatever, people can attach that sound to your name and that just does wonders for your brand. And that is one of the listens we talked about on our latest video on our main channel if you want to go check that one out. So here's what that layer sounds like as of right now. And then no effects or anything added there. Turn the gain up way higher just so you could actually hear what was going on because it was very quiet in Sky Keys. Here's what the final layer sounds like. And then again, just like we did with the first layer, pitch it down for a second section, except we made this pattern unique and pitched it down inside of the VST, which gave it a little bit of a different sound. So here's what it sounds like. Moving into the third and last layer, which is kind of crazy to think that this sample's only 3 layers. Probably the craziest layer of the sample is this vocal. And just a disclaimer, I did this vocal, I'm not very good at singing, so as long as you got a mic and a few of these effects, or you can substitute for some of them, you can do things like this as well. And for these nostalgic samples, a vocal is almost essential. So with this vocal, what I'd do is I would highlight 8 bars, have the sample going, and then I'd just try and perfect or get it close enough with autotune on my voice, and then get 8 bars of a decent vocal that I know that I could chop up. For effects on these vocals, you can see there's nothing actually crazy. Everything is stock except for the autotune. Autotune is very cheap. You can sometimes find it online. Here's what the vocal sounds like with all the decent takes put together with those effects on.
Show me that you want me, and we can go slowly, but right now I just want you to hold me, close to me. Show me that you want me, and we can go slowly, but right now I just want you to hold me, close to me.
So I just basically did a whole lot of those kinds of similar takes, pitched it up full octave, put on these new effects. So got a TAL filter giving it that tremolo kind of effect, EQs focusing on the highs, a flanges, and a pan man just setting it left and right. Second step of the vocal process, stay with me, here's what it sounds like.
Show me that you want me, and we can go slowly, but right now I just want you to hold me, close to me.
And then the final step of processing this vocal, we've got the Yazoo preset. This particularly is one for vocals. There's nothing crazy on here. You can see there's halftime, EQs, reverb. It's all very simple, and another pan man's going left and right. I then reverse the vocal and then chopped it up to fit the rest of the sample. When I go through and chop these things up, so you can see here, some of them are pitched up a full octave, some of them have pitched up 2 full octaves, and then you can also see with the pan, I've just always got them like moving around a little bit. So all these are like different unique things. Some are panned, some aren't, some are pitched up 12, as I was saying before. But it just makes it sound really, just like there's like a lot more going on than there actually is, which is a really cool effect that is a lot easier than you may think. That vocal's crazy. I used a similar process heaps in lots of our samples, and we even dropped a massive vocal bundle with samples like this, super affected, really random texture-like vocals, but also just vocal phrases, hits, and just tons of vocals that have completely elevated producers' samples. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. That'll be linked in the description. So we've got 5 layers that have stemmed from 3. Anyway, let's hear the full sample back so you guys can hear everything together. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you can take away some of those techniques that you learned from this video. Go check out some of our other beat and sample breakdowns on this channel. Go cook up. We'll see you in the next one.